Lee, 17 years old, went missing in St. Paul, Minnesota on January the 12th, 1993. No convictions have been made and foul play is suspected regardless. Hang moved to the United States in 1985 as a little girl after her family fled a refugee camp in Lois. They moved to St. Paul, Minnesota, where Hang lived in the McDonough Homes Project, attended school, and worked up until her disappearance. She was one of 14 children and was described as a sweet but naive teenage girl that dreamed of becoming a writer. She loved to read and attended Highland Park High School as a senior at the time of her disappearance. She had plans to attend the University of Minnesota after she graduated, and she also worked part-time alongside her siblings in Wong's Cafe as a cashier, where she earned just $7 an hour. She spoke both Hmong and English when she disappeared without a trace. Hang Lee's last confirmed sighting was as she was leaving her home in the McDonough Housing Project, Minnesota, between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. on the 12th of January 1993. She had decided to look for a new job at the cafe. It didn't pay as much as well, and she wanted to bring in more income for the family home. Kia, otherwise known as Nikki Lee, which was a no relation, went with Hang. She was one of her friends, and Mark Stephen Wallace in his tan silver 1988 Chevrolet Cavalier, but returned home alone shortly thereafter. The clothing Hang was last seen wearing was a black lightweight sweater, light leather jacket, and a black t-shirt with Skid Row letters written on the back. Black jeans or slacks, sneakers, costume jewelry that included 2 silver bracelets. The authorities initially wrote Hang off as another troubled runaway, but there was nothing in Hang's life that would lead to the conclusion that she was troubled in any way. She was looking forward to attending college after graduating and had plans to write a book on Hmong's experience in America. It was only upon speaking with Nikki, her friend, that they switched tactics to a potential missing persons case. When Nikki initially cooperated with the authorities, she told them that Hang had left with unidentified male youths. She then changed her story to implicate Mark Wallace and stated that Hang had gone to an job interview with him. Nikki also worked for Mark, who owned a small painting and carpentry business on the Iroquois Avenue at the time of Hang's disappearance. It is alleged that Nikki set up Hang with the interview and that she and Hang went to meet Wallace together at a nearby casino. Nikki alleges that Wallace dropped her off and drove away with Hang in the front passenger seat of the vehicle. Wallace had stated he would drive Hang home after the interview, but he later told the police that he dropped her off at Rice Street and Wheelock Parkway near her employer, Wong Cafe. Hang's boss, Eileen Lee, no relation, at the Wong's Cafe in Rice Street, was interviewed by the media, and she said that on the night of her disappearance, Hang had called her to let her know she had a job interview elsewhere and couldn't work her scheduled shift. Eileen stated that her parents couldn't have raised a sweeter, nicer kid, but that Hang was very naive. Eileen stated that it was uncharacteristic for Hang not to show up for work, and she had been due on shift the next day. Hang's parents are refugees of Lois and at the time could not speak English, which made difficulty communicating with authorities. It was a few days after Hang's initial disappearance that she was reported missing to the police. She left behind all of her clothing other than the clothes she was wearing at the time, her college savings, a $100 paycheck, and her purse, which contained a knife and a lead ball for personal protection. As she was leaving her home, she told her younger brother, "If I don't come back, come and look for me." Kua, who was 13 at the time of his sister's disappearance, said he went to sleep at 10 p.m. and awoke at 1 a.m. Hang would usually knock at the door of the apartment when she got home, and her brother or one of her siblings would let her in, but Koa never heard a knock. When he looked out the window, he saw the snow coming down pretty hard, and there were no footprints from the parking lot. He got up to see if maybe he had missed her or she was on her way, but got a horrible feeling that crawled up the back of his neck. He confronted Nikki at the high school they both attended the next day and asked her where his sister was. She said that she didn't know. In 2009, the authorities thought they would have a break in the case when Wallace's home in Maplewood was foreclosed upon after Wallace couldn't keep up the payments on the property. The authorities were given permission to search the property with cadaver dogs and specifically focused on the garage, which had been completed in 2004. They used a probe to draw and smell out smells of decomposition of the ore bones, and the dogs alerted authorities to a potential hit. The authorities were able to get a search warrant to drill in the garage floor, but the dogs didn't pick up anything in the second time around. There have been no leads or evidence since Wallace's home was searched. They also searched his office car and pickup trucks but found no further evidence. Hangley's family and police believe that with additional leads that could come forward, they could have the case solved that hasn't been solved for decades. Her social security number has never worked since, and it has never been used. Hang isn't forgotten, and the case is active. It's ongoing, said Sergeant Paul Polos, an investigator on the case. We will find her someday. On Friday the 7th of April and Saturday the 8th of April 2017, Hang's family held a spirit release ceremony after Hang had been missing for 24 years. They were interviewed by the Twin Cities Pioneer Press, and Kua Lee, one of Hang's brothers, said he struggled to acknowledge the fact that his sister is dead. Other relatives tried to help convince him that it was the right thing to do, and he was quoted as saying, "We hope that releasing her spirit will raise awareness and maybe it'll make some people talk." It has been decades since Hang went missing, and the family has pleaded with anyone with information to come forward. Authorities have said the case is still active and they are hoping they will find her one day. The family practice Hmong, and part of their practices and beliefs are to hold a spirit release ceremony in the aftermath of a funeral. It is said to allow the spirit of the deceased soul to bring it free for reincarnation into another body. Hang's father, Zon Lee, initially hadn't wanted a spirit release ceremony to take place until her body was found, but before he passed, unfortunately, he without ever knowing what happened to his daughter, he encouraged his son, Kua, to go forward with the ceremony. His mother, Chong Riang, was 87 in 2017 and told the journalist that she forgave whoever hurt her daughter, but begged them to please tell her where the Hang's remains were, so she could give her daughter the funeral that she deserved. Hang Lee's family has spent more than 24 years waiting for their daughter, their sister, their friend to come home. Now, after all this time, they are finally letting go. "I'm holding on to my sister," Hang's brother says. "I don't want to let go. I never want to give up on thinking that she can come home." Also making an appearance at the ceremony were the police officers who worked on her case thoroughly and are currently in the process of revisiting the details with new technology. Officials are looking for a breakthrough in the case and in the investigation into the 1993 disappearance of Hang Lee fills 9 binders in the St. Paul Police Missing Persons Unit. Hang Lee's case remains characterized as a missing person, and it is one of the St. Paul's oldest missing person cases. Police continue to ask people to come forward with information, even if it seems like a small detail. Hang is described as a sweet, naive teenager. She wanted to become a writer and enjoyed reading at the time of her disappearance. She was a senior in high school and planned to attend the University of Minnesota after graduating. Hang's case remains unsolved, and her 13 siblings and her mother are still hoping that she will come home. Hang Lee, a female, is of Hmong Laotian descent, Asian, and she was the first-generation American and speaks Hmong and English. She was born on September the 10th, 1975, and has dark brown-black hair, which she had her bangs dyed red when she went missing. She is 5 feet tall and weighed approximately 90 pounds with a striking smile. If you or anyone you know has any information about the disappearance of Hang Lee, please contact the appropriate authorities. Hang Lee has been missing for decades, and her loved ones deserve answers, and she deserves a proper resting place. The St. Paul Police Department can be contacted at 612-291-1111, and the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office can also be reached at 651-266-9333. Crime Stoppers Minnesota is offering an undisclosed reward for the information on the case and encourages anyone who can help to come forward and call the Crime Stoppers hotline at 651-452-7463.